Hello guys, welcome in the world of control panels. Control panels is nothing but the cabinet enclosure according to the customer requirements or according to the company standards. We can call it as a cabinets, cubicles or anything you can say. So the control panel, there are variety of control panels and used in the various applications as well. I basically started my career in the control panel manufacturing company, and it peaks me at the very high level from the quality control engineer to the project engineer. I'm basically from the background of electrical engineering. At start, I was very confused in making my career in what stream, but whenever I entered into the panel manufacturing industry, I have gaining the interest in the designing as well and become a project engineer. So I've gone through the various control panels designing. So I was basically designing the control panels like PLC control panels, NCC control panels, then RCB control panels, pneumatic control panels, then networking cabinet as well. So these terms are very much pretty much confusing for me for you guys, but step by step we will learn what are the control panels, how it manufactured, on what applications they are used for. Previously, before the automation, there was the manual control panels or the mimic control panels were there. We can say a mimic panel. We are manually control the system. Now the in the digitalization world, everything is automatic. And how automatically the process is being start. And you have ever wondered how the automobile assembly line is controlled. So, in this, I'm going to teach you what is the control panels and how the electrical and automatic control panels works. Then, what is exactly the electrical control panels? Think of electrical control panels like the human body. Inside our bodies, we have vital organs that controls and monitors our surroundings. Similarly, an electrical control panel is metal box which contain the important electrical devices that controls and monitors the mechanical process electrically. Okay, then what is enclosure? Let's get started. First, let's talk about the enclosure, the metal electrical control box that contains all the electrical devices of control cabinet. Enclosures are often aluminiums or stainless steels, and the size will vary based on the size of processes. An electrical control panel's enclosure can have the multiple sections. Each sections will have access door. The size of the enclosure is commonly referred to by the number of doors or enclosure bars. Each enclosure will have an electrical safety ratings designed by UL. The UL means the Underwriters Laboratories, who governs the electrical safety. Then we'll also have an IP ratings or NEMA classification, which designate the enclosure to indoor and outdoor application. Waterproof or water resistance, suitable for hazardous condition, dust proof and explosion proof. Now, let's go inside the enclosure and talk about the non-electrical components that make up the electrical control panels. There are various switchgears components are used in the electrical control panels. It may be electrical and mechanical also. In the electrical, it will include the various switchgears like MCBs, contactors, MPCBs, VFDs, and all other devices, which are controlled through one remote system, which are controlled by the remote system as well, which is called as a PLC, that is programmable logic controller. So it is called as a PLC control panel where include the PLCs. PLCs, there are various makes of the PLCs like Siemens, Allen Bradley, etc. I personally worked on the Siemens and Rockwell PLCs. It is again classified into the various categories like control, compact logics, control logics, and varieties. So it is operated the system automatically. It gains the output from the system, it gives the control to the system. So basically the control panels controls and monitor the overall system remotely as well. Now we will talk about the electrical components of control panels. First we will be discussing on the main circuit breaker. The main circuit breaker where the power comes into the control panel for all the devices. Okay, which is called as main circuit breaker. This circuit breaker generally has disconnect on the outside of the panel that allows to shut off the power. Okay, means on the control panel the handle is been provided so that we cannot open the door physically. Instead of that, we can only rotate the handle in order to shut off the system in the emergency cases as well. Always remember the top side of the circuit breaker will still have the power. The power that comes into the panel can be anywhere from 480 volts as low as 120 or 230 volts. The next component is a surge arrestor. After the power comes into the panel from the main circuit breaker, the power will be run into the surge arrestor. Surge arrestor is a device that protects all the electrical equipment inside the control panel from electrical surges or over voltage. And the electrical surge can come from the lightning strike or utility power surges as well. Then the third and most important switchgear is transformer, which is of 24 volt power supply or 230 volt anything. The power can be connected into the transformer that switches the power down in order to power the smaller devices. There are the smaller devices which are run from the transformer. The transformer may be the step down or step up according to our requirement. So in order to supply the power to that smaller devices, we use the transformer. If the incoming power is above 120 volt and transformer is generally used, if there is a 120 volts, a power supply can be used to step the power down to 24 volts as well. Now that the electrical control panel has incoming power from main circuit breaker and power distributed by the transformer or power supply, the different voltages can be wired into the terminal block. Okay, then next, what is terminal block? The terminal block consists of two terminals that can join the two or more wires together. The terminal block can be arranged with several other blocks in the strip mounted on the DIN rail. The DIN rail is mounted on the chassis of the cabinet. It is not directly mounted on the cabinet or box. We can say there is a chassis and where the components is been mounted with the help of DIN rail to run the power from one source to several devices through the panel. The third and most important is programmable logic control, that is PLC. Next part of the control panel is devices that control and monitor the mechanical processes. Okay, the processes is been monitored by using the PLC. Let's talk about the PLC or programmable logic controller. The PLC is like a brain of entire process. The PLC will have the CPU where the logic program is been stored. It will have associated inputs, output which will help to control and monitor the assembly lines. Speaking of the terminal blocks, we will have the wires running from them to the inputs and outputs. This will allow for the actual control of these assembly lines. Field devices such as proximity switches, photo eyes, then various sensors, they are assembled line to give the feedback needed to the PLC to control the operation of the line. That means the relay has been used in the control panels. That relay will senses the information from the field devices and it will give the output to the PLCs. Then again the input or the trigger has been given from PLC to the field devices. In this way, the PLC will monitor and control the system as well. Then what is relays and contactors? The PLC output will be wired to the bank of relays. Then it will close the terminals contact and it will send power out to turn on and off the devices on the assembly line. Smaller relays will control the devices such as light or fans, while the bigger relays called as contactor, it is used to control the motors. Now the network switches. We will also have the network switch located near to the PLC. It will powered with the 24 volts and it will be a hub for the communication to and from the PLC to the network compatible devices on the assembly lines. Why the network switch is required? Because the PLC is communicating with field devices via the cables which is called as Cat6 cables or the communication cable we can say. RJ45 cable, fiber optics cable as per the requirement. So there is one hub or where all the cables are terminated in the cabinet itself, which is called as a network switches. Okay. Then the human machine interface, that is HMI. One of those devices is our human machine interface or HMI. HMI can be mounted locally on the panel door on the remote panel located closer to the machineries. Okay, the HMI are always mounted on the cabinet door. It will be visible to all the operators, engineers, whoever in the factory. The HMI can be very dynamic tool in assisting the operator in controlling and monitoring mechanically. The PLC will also pass the signal over the network to the HMI for monitoring, and HMI can send the signal to the PLC for controlling the machineries. Okay. Then today we talk about the components of control panel. Each control panel will have the main power source coming in the distributed throughout the panel to varying devices for the control and monitoring. Electronic control panels will come in the different sizes, but they have the similar devices than we have talked today. Okay guys, that's it for the today's session. In the next session, we will be learn what is analog input, output, what is digital input, output, and how it will be work, how the field devices are connected through it, and how they are work through the digital input and output. Thanks for hearing me, and all the best for your career. Thank you.